All of us can agree teaching writing can be rather difficult. After having done a poll and questioned several teachers, I discovered that between teaching reading comprehension and writing, writing was the biggie. And the reason a lot of teachers don't enjoy teaching writing is because they don't really understand writing themselves. Hi, I'm the one that shares with 2Q Classrooms, and today we're going to be talking about what we can do to get ourselves more comfortable with writing so that our students can do a better job of writing themselves. So let's get right into this video. When we're going to teach writing to our students, we want to make sure that our attitude about writing is correct. And we are not saying, oh my gosh, we got to teach writing today. Oh, it's writing time. You better get over here and write. That's what you do, right? You don't do that to your students because you wouldn't want anybody doing it to you. So the first thing you need to do is to become comfortable with writing. How do you do that? Start small. Start small. Start doing something simple that you can enjoy that doesn't really seem like writing. Sounds a little weird, doesn't it? But I suggest beginning with a journal. Get a journal. Take you a journal home or wherever it is, or put it in your car. I happen to ride around with pencil and paper because I'm always thinking of things I want to write about or talk about or do later. So I also keep pencil and paper by my bed. So when I get up in the mornings and I'm trying to concentrate, I can write. So with my suggestion to you, start small. Keep a journal or keep a little notepad. Jot down ideas that you have throughout the day or things that happen that you think are noteworthy and begin to write about it. And once you jot them down, you might want to elaborate on those. Begin to elaborate about them. And so as you're beginning to write these, you're becoming more and more comfortable with the writing process. And you can translate this over to your students because energy is transferable. And so when you have negative energy, your students also feel that negative energy. But once you're comfortable with writing and you talk about it in a calm, pleasurable voice, they'll begin to want to write themselves. So my first suggestion for you and for your students is to try journaling. And as you're journaling and you become comfortable with it, begin to talk to your students about keeping a journal. That way they can feel comfortable with writing. They can feel comfortable about putting their ideas and thoughts down on paper. I am a big stickler for reviews. Writing reviews. You know, we all have an opinion. Our students have an opinion, and trust me, they really, really love to express their opinion. So you do the same. So if you have a really good experience somewhere, write about it. Write it down. You might want to actually send it to the company. Write it. Practice writing those reviews. I suggest keeping them simple if you're beginning the writing process of about 4 sentences. Talk about what you liked or did not like about whatever this thing was. Make sure that you mention, if you can remember some of the employees' names, write those down. Write out any suggestions for change. Just get into the habit of doing a review. So like I like to do movie reviews. I like to review clothes. So your students will also like to review, but for you to become comfortable, get in the habit of writing a review. If you didn't like something, write a review. Not saying you have to send this off. You can keep this just for yourself because remember, we're trying to get comfortable and get in the flow of writing. So when you do your reviews, do a positive review. You might want to do a negative review. You might want to just do a review for the sake of doing a review so you can get in the habit of doing reviews. And that way you can demonstrate to your students how they would do a review. And begin to formulate a checklist, a rubric of what they should include when they're doing their review. And you might want to use this for yourself. I love to do movie reviews. I used to do them all the time. When I did blogging, when I first did blogging, I would do reviews. And so when you're doing them, I always had a checklist. I've sort of gotten out of the habit now. But I used to go see movies and I was going through the checklist. I would always make it a point to survey my audience to see how they were responding to the movie, to see what time of day it was, how the sound effects were, how the costumes look. So if you're doing a movie review, you might want to do that. If you're reviewing a restaurant, you might want to see what kind of atmosphere they have. Do the customers seem like they're happy? Do they seem pleased? Do they seem annoyed? What's the colors like? That's just like where I am now. The colors on this wall are really calming and really pretty, and they're neutral, but they give off a calm vibe. So when you're writing reviews, you pay attention to all these things. So you begin to pay attention to detail. get yourself in the habit of paying attention to details. And so when you're teaching your students how to do that, you can teach them to pay attention to minute little details. And you'll be amazed at how you'll begin to know what's going on in your surroundings a little bit more once you're doing those reviews. And you'll become more and more comfortable with the writing process. You can also begin to think about brainstorming. So brainstorming is something we teach our students right from the jump. We teach them before they begin writing to think about what they're going to write about. So it could even be a random topic. So I would suggest you make a list of things, just everyday random objects. You might say a heart, book, you might say poster, whatever, and then just the word. And then you go off and you brainstorm some things about that particular word. Just write down. Maybe you're writing down the color. Maybe you're writing down the feel it gives you. And I like to respond in relation to my five senses. What does it look like? What does it smell like? What does it taste like? What does it feel like? What's the texture? You know, all of these things, what's the mood it creates inside of me? All of these are ways that you are brainstorming. And so as you're teaching your students the brainstorming process, you can have them go through these steps too, and you can demonstrate them to them. And you'll be amazed. Once you've completed that activity, you can then ease into writing longer things. It's almost like a word splash. So you'll go into your writing a sentence, writing complete sentences. And once you've written those complete sentences, you'll be amazed you have a paragraph. And then you can begin to break those paragraphs down into individual parts, individual paragraphs. And believe it or not, when you're finished, ta-da, you'll have an essay and you will have written it and you will not have been uncomfortable doing it. Also, as I suggested for the students, I'm going to suggest for you, you may want to write those, do your writing in segments, in chunks. You might want to write about, let's say if it's, right now it's summertime here. I don't know what time you're watching, but it's summertime here. You might want to start one paragraph talking about some things that you see in the summertime, and then you might want to migrate to some things that you taste in the summer. You might want to take a day at a time. Just do it. Extend it out. Enjoy yourself as you're doing it. Make it pleasurable. Or if you see characters, and this is an activity that I like, and this is my other suggestion for you. I watch Big City Greens. I think it's the name of the cartoon. Sad to admit it, Miss Shields likes to watch cartoons. But one of the things they were doing is an episode where the whole family was sitting out and they were watching their neighbors, and they asked her, I can't remember their mom's name, what did she think? They said, you don't know your neighbor? She said, oh, I know everybody. And she says, what I do is I just look at people and I imagine this and I imagine it about, and each one of them came up with a story concerning the neighbors. And Bill, the dad, was having a really, really hard time doing it until he just got really involved. He combined everybody's style. So what you can do is look at certain people or look at certain objects and begin to create a story from that. You might want to, just let your imagination run wild. Give yourself a few moments to sit and meditate and think about it and see what you come up with. And you'll be amazed at how your ideas begin to flow. So when you're doing creative writing, that's a great idea. Also, recipes. If you're writing down family recipes, that's also writing. And I know we type a lot now. So even if you're typing out family recipes, that is writing. And not just do the recipe. Stop for a minute and say, where did I get this recipe from? Why did I get it from here? So if it's a family recipe, you may say, I got this recipe from Grandma Susan. And then you can say, you could begin to think about Grandma Susan. You could go on from there. What other recipes did you get? Where did Grandma Susan get this recipe from? Why is this a family recipe? What do we do different than other people do? Comparison, contrast. You may think of a story about Grandma Susan. That's a narrative. You might think of how she makes it. You may be explaining how to make it. That's an expository essay or some expository information. All of the, or you might just want to tell what it tastes like. What feeling does it create inside of you? Again, that's a narrative. You can just go on from there. But all of these are ways that you can begin to feel comfortable with the writing process. Another thing that you can do, and you try your students to do, I always suggest having a set time for writing for your students. You will want to have a set time for writing for yourself. So if it's first thing in the mornings, which is when I really like to write, I'm at peace early in the mornings. And so early in the mornings may be your time when you get up and you get your pencil and you get your paper out, or you get your computer, or whatever it is that you use, and you begin to write. And so I like to use a timer. So I set my timer for 15 minutes or 20 minutes and begin writing. And so that's what you do. Make it a daily habit that you're writing at this time, whether it's morning or whether it's evening. You have a allotted amount of time to do your writing. And you just go ahead and begin your writing process. That'll also begin to alleviate some of your anxiety about writing, which, like I said, your anxiety is going to transfer over to your students. And we don't want to do that. We want to make sure that they have a pleasant experience with writing. So we have a set time. We have a set place. You may even want to create smells. I find candles relaxing, especially scented candles. So you may want to light a particular candle, or if you have your morning cup of coffee, which I like to do when I'm writing, it helps me get more in the mood. I have my morning cup of coffee. It relaxes me. I can write a little better, stimulates my mind, gets me in the writing mood. You have a routine that you go through for writing. So when you set up writing for your students, you can make sure that they also have a routine for writing. So that's all we're going to talk about today. I'll be getting back with you with some more ideas on how we as educators can become more and more comfortable with our writing process. And I'll see you guys in the next video. In case I forgot, before I go, don't forget to give this video a like, a thumbs up, to subscribe, and to follow me for more teaching tips and hacks. And I'll see you guys later.